Good evening, NACA. I am Joel Ortiz. I'm the Western Pacific Regional Vice President. We are here tonight to make a video to provide clarity about what happened at the Western Pacific Regional Dinner at the Fort Lauderdale Convention in 2023. This video is not a campaign video to tell you who to vote for or who to support. In fact, this video is going to be provided to both campaigns because I'm sure both campaigns want their supporters making the decisions based on facts as opposed to misinformation. So before we get started, we want to make some introductions. To my right is Amy Sayers. Amy Sayers was the Fort Lauderdale Convention Committee Chair. She is also on the San Francisco Convention Committee. We are currently in San Francisco having a Convention Committee meeting for San Francisco 2025. And to my left is Charles Howell. He is the San Francisco 2025 Convention Committee Chair. He was also a member of the Fort Lauderdale Convention Committee in 2023. So going on to the video. The Fort Lauderdale NEB meeting. Per our Constitution, the NEB is required to visit the location of the convention 1 year in advance to ensure the location meets the needs of the organization. They receive a brief from the Convention Committee to see where they are in the planning process and to see what options for venues to feed the members that are attending they have. During the meeting, Amy briefed the NEB. Amy, do you want to explain what you briefed the NEB during that meeting?
Yes, I would. The standard practice for each convention is to provide the NEB with local options for regional dinners. As the committee chair, I felt it was important to explain to the NEB that there were very few venues that could accommodate our large groups of people for reasonable prices. The local convention committee members vetted dozens of venues, and we ultimately compiled a list of 27 unique options that would accommodate groups of at least 100. This book was presented to every member of the NEB, and each option was between $120 and $170 per person. Included as one of the 27 options was the Sun Dream Yacht Charter Company, which provides charters that could accommodate varying group sizes.
So, after understanding the limitations that the City of Fort Lauderdale was providing, I asked Charles from the Western Pacific if he could vet some of the venues and tell me what he thought might have been some of the best options for a region of our size. Our region is generally 150 to 200 attendees for conventions.
So just to give some context on how we got to that decision, like you said, our region's so big, and to save cost, it was also thrown around that maybe we can combine regions up. After that decision was made, or the idea at least thrown, I started looking for venues that could host that many people. There were not a lot. Out of the 27 places we found, 6 or 7 of them could host that amount of people. That boat was one of them. It fit within the price of all of it. It also was close to the hotel, or at least where the boat picked up, it was close to the hotel. We didn't have to pay for transportation. That was another cost savings. So at the end of the day, the decision was made, and it was responsible to do that because it was fiscally in the between the 120 and the 170.
So for the budget, every region budgets for their regional dinners based on the size and attendance of the members of their respective regions. That's something we've always done. That is not new. The size of the Western Pacific region, like I said, is about 150 to 200 attendees for conventions, and it's between 200 and 250 attendees for CFS. So CFS is coming up in 4 weeks. Last year's CFS dinner, we had 220 attendees, and we ate Caesar salad, spaghetti, and chicken. So these aren't elaborate dinners, but we do have a requirement per our Constitution for all of our NACA-sponsored events to feed the attendees. I also realized we needed additional regions to make it work. It was cost prohibitive for just the Western Pacific region. So I asked the Southwest region, which is the 5th largest region, and the Northwest Mountain region, which is the 6th largest region, if they would like to join to make the event work. They both agreed. So now 3 regions that were having problems finding venues all joined up, and we had over 400 attendees on that boat for all 3 regions' regional dinner. Now, once the other 2 regions agreed to join, I made the decision to use the yacht company. I made it alone, and I signed the contract. Nobody else. It was my decision. So a couple of quick points. Why now? Quite honestly, the narratives that existed on social media were so easily debunked, I just didn't assume anybody would believe them. I had hoped that the rhetoric that people had heard on the platforms like Reddit would be checked or fact-checked or assumed to be nonsense. Turns out that many people believed them, and those things that were posted on social media were being consumed as fact. So if you've heard any other narrative than the narrative you're hearing right now, it is not true. It is in fact a lie. Second, if anyone wants additional confirmation, ask whoever your RVP was on September 7th, 2022, because every RVP in attendance knows the story to be true. Every RVP in attendance heard Amy give the briefing on the limitations of venues. Every RVP got their booklet of options for venues, and every RVP's booklet had the Sundream Yacht Charter Company. So it's not a surprise to any of them. Also, every expenditure that comes out of our organization's budget is approved or denied by our Executive Vice President to ensure that it meets the criteria of the National Finance Policy. So every expenditure goes through an approval process. Would a campaign party on a boat, exclusively a campaign party on a boat, ever be approved by our Executive Vice President? It would not. It would fall outside of our finance policy. So for our members who wondered if that could be a possibility, hopefully your confidence is no longer eroded and you have trust in this organization that would never occur. No matter who you support in this election, this is not a monarchy, it's not a dictatorship. Every one of those candidates is going to be bound by this and bound by our finance policy, not by their personal likes or dislikes. Last, would I do this again? I absolutely would do it again. We had a venue problem. We had a venue that could not accommodate regions our size. We found a solution to that problem. The solution to that problem was a dinner that fit within all three regions' budgets. The only difference would be I might have picked a different region to ensure that no candidates for any office were on that boat. Because if no candidates are on the boat, this is not a story. Because this is routine business that we do every convention. We feed our members and we feed them within a budget. And we did that. So hopefully this clears up any confusion that any of you might have. Thank you for your time and appreciate everything you all do. Have a good night.